honey, don't do that. It gets complicated. All right. Let me pull up some Twitter comments. Go ahead and let me see. There we go. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it first. All right. First real threat of the season. First real actual incoming threat of the season. We can strain, which is nice. Finally, November 13th, 11:14 p.m. Bookmark it. Let's get into it. I won't go too long, not as long as I usually do, just because I know Billy's going live soon, and he didn't respond, because I don't want to interfere with his stuff. So we'll go quicker than they usually have, which will still be plenty of time to break into anything. So let's do it. And I'll try to take questions. I'll try to get through some stuff first, and I'll take some whatever questions you guys got at the end, for sure. We take a look at the differences. This is a little bit volatile of a setup. I've mentioned we're kind of in a. Sorry, I sound a little weird. I got a cough drop in my mouth right now, but it's a little bit volatile of a setup. And what we got going on. This is our current storm. That's getting out of here right now. All right, this is our current one, where we got Maine. They got a nice little special. They got a nice little special today, and tonight. Some places I think could get double digits in terms of storm totals. There, they could get some really decent snowfall totals. I think we're talking, a good 3 to 6 for a lot of areas, and then even maybe 6 to 10 for some spots as well. Given how wet the snow will be a little bit difficult to get some, like foot accumulations, but if it really pounds for a while, they could get some good totals there. But none of you are interested in that really, because you don't live in northern Maine, but it is important because the more this amplifies, a little bit more progressive the pieces behind it gets. So I told you, once this gets out of the way, so tomorrow we'll have I think models will get a much better consensus and idea. Not exactly in terms of the rain snow line. The rain snow line we'll be trying to figure out all the way up until the event. That's not going to change. But in terms of the overall evolution at 500 millibars, I think we're going to get a lot better consensus tomorrow. And so we got going on here. Notice we got a little bit of a split going on. So our storm today is going to take some of this, and it's going to split in between. The rest is going to get caught and used for the next upcoming storm. You can kind of see that there. We elongate that vort right there, and we're going to split, almost basically split, still a little bit of a stream interaction. So it's a little bit of a confluence piece, but this isn't really going to do all that much because this is a pretty strong vort profile here. And notice, right, this is what, we talked about this, a couple of days ago on stream too. Originally I thought we were going to get this piece right here. I thought this whole evolution we could maybe get a little bit more progressive. We could slide this out sooner, back up this vort, and then we could look at a Miller A kind of snowstorm event. And I thought that'd be a much more fun thing to track than this slop of a mess right here. But it is what it is. It's not going to happen. We're not going to have that. So this is going to get caught up in the flow right here. And you can kind of see on the NAM the difference between the GFS and the NAM right now. In large part is the stream interaction between here and how much this elongates. The more stream interaction we see between these two pieces right here, and the more we can amplify this this upper level low, right? Because we'll have our surface low. They'll be moving east. Well, roughly it'll be maybe a little bit farther east will form, and we'll kind of ride like this. Ride inland then. And the question is, how much can we elongate this so we can press down our upper level low, we can flatten out a little bit more, but also how much can we condense this energy here to the point where that we can not try and force this to amplify so much if these two separate. So if we're flattening this out, the stream interaction, that means we're going to have to get a little bit more vorticity somewhere else, energy, in other words, to try to get the same amount of amplification that we were going to get without this happening, if that makes any sense. So we need this to amplify a little bit more. We need the upper level low and self to also amplify a little bit more. We can get the southern vort on this. So notice what we got going on here, but it's a little bit complicated where we got multiple pieces from the North Stream diving in. Notice this is going to dive in on the backside here, and that's going to help amplify this whole system and going to want to drive it. It's going to want to drive the upper level low farther north and west. So this is why even on the NAM, which is, what's up, John? Even on the snowy solution here, I still think it favors like these areas here. And then originally, what's going to happen here? I'll back it up. Notice originally, right, we got this convection back here. We got it firing up to our system. We're not going to be able to back the flow because we're not quite negative yet. It will be eventually, but it's going to be past our latitude until we start to back the flow into this system. But we are going to pump moisture into the system, so we're going to get probably a decent F-gen bend set up. So what will happen is we'll probably see an F-gen bend set up. So a little bit of a solid band. We'll see that set up. And what happens is this will push north and then eventually pivot like this across these areas. That's what will happen. And the main difference here with the GFS and the NAM right now is notice this piece right here. Notice the stream. Notice how much more vertical rather than lateral we are with this piece, where the NAM is more like this. The NAM is more lateral. So what we need, the GFS is always going to struggle in the short term. Let's not mix that up here. GFS is always going to struggle in the short term. What is it, dog? Oh, it's but see, right, this is our main difference. I'll show you. This is GFS, and this is NAM. GFS, or this is NAM, GFS. Notice right here. Notice these two pieces right here. That's the main difference right now. A little bit more stream interaction. This piece is caught in the flow more, and this is helping elongate this system. This is helping to elongate this so we can get our upper level low. Instead of to try to push farther inland, we can get it originally to flatten out until this piece dives in from here. Helps to help amplify the system, and eventually we'll see the upper level low flat. We're not going to be able to get it this much probably, but just a little bit more, and then eventually we'll see it. What we don't want it to happen is on the GFS is what happening. We're seeing that upper level amplify much more vertically initially, and that's why we're struggling to see as much snow on a GFS scenario. Now it amplified more the upper level low of the system. It was way too weak with the upper level low, but this is the main difference. This piece right here. And I'll try to end this quickly because I know Billy just went live. I tried to communicate with him. It didn't work out. It's fine whatsoever, but I'll try to end this in the next few minutes or so. This will be a quick one, but just get across the main points. And we're going to keep going live until the storm happens every day, maybe multiple times a day. If not, we'll just do one every night at a minimum until the storm hits. And you can get kind of see this here with the preset map. Notice here with the NAM. Compare. Oh, no, it's Photoshop. I might have to break out my first snow map of the season. That is possible. Notice the difference between the NAM. Oh, you said go to mine. All right, then we'll keep going until until he says. Not that I have to follow his every rule. He doesn't like set rules. Like I could just do this, but I don't want to be an asshole. I don't like I do not want to like interfere with his stuff, and hopefully he doesn't have to interfere with mine either. We just happen to both, great minds think alike. We want to stream at the same time, but I'm wasting time talking about this, so I'll keep going. Notice the difference here with the NAM preset map and the GFS. You can play this out at hour 60. Notice how not only are we much more amplified in the GFS, or on the NAM, sorry, but notice how much wider our precip extent. Bad color. Notice how much wider our precip extends out compared to the GFS. And that's because when I talked about that elongation here in the vort, I talked about this piece right here. Notice the elongation we have in here, but we're also still have a really amplified upper level low compared to the GFS and just in general of what our maximum is. It's going to be, I'm not saying the NAM is right. I think the Euro is a good middle ground right now between the NAM and the GFS. I'll pull up the Euro in a second. But you can see that we're not quite seeing that flat stream interaction, which we kind of want here. That's not the same with every single system, but in order to max out the most we can in these locations, well, it's going to be hard to get here, but at least north of I-84 and Mass Pike, in order to maximize the most we can, we're going to need this to be a little less vertical, and we're going to need this to be a little bit more lateral, and that will not only expand the precip shield, so we'll be able to get a little bit more out in front, sit a little bit more precip, potentially longer into the cold air, but we're also just going to allow that mix line to wait a little bit more time in general. So I don't think this is a high ceiling event. I think we're talking, we'll pull it into the eastern U.S. Let's pull it in. I want Euro. I want the Euro. I think the Euro, you can see, is kind of a good, I just pulled it away from the last piece, but I think the Euro is a good in-between piece right now, where I think this is for any flakes in general, for like a coating. I think like this is your best, your best shot. And you can flatten that line out. Pennsylvania is a little, I'll try to dig into PA a little bit for some of my PA folks in terms of out in central PA. But in terms of actual accumulating snowfall, I think this is the best shot. We'll see how much warm air can surge. How much warm air will be able to surge, and given it's a southwest flow event, it's not going to be hard. I checked the mid levels are actually pretty cold, at least for the beginning. The problem is where we're running is the lower levels, from anywhere from 750 to 850 and lower down to the surface. It's a little bit too warm for us to not only have potentially good DGZ, a good dendritic growth zone. It's going to be a little bit difficult in terms of that. We're not going to have a super cold dendritic growth zone, but we are going to have some solid. We are going to have a little bit of a solid FGen band. The sooner this thing can get going, while some of these, well, I'm not going to go that far south, but the sooner this thing can get going, while some of these folks are in the cold air long enough, that's how you maximize this event for these areas right here. I think for you to have a shot of like several inches of snow, I think anywhere north of around this line I just drew right here, and obviously elevation is going to help too, because the higher up you are here, the colder it's going to be. No, I could go over DGZ. I would try to go over briefly. Can one of y'all check in for me, Billy Strain too, to see if he's gotten started or if he still has computer issues as well. But I think this is where the most snow is going to happen, and then if you're elevated in if you're elevated in any of these spots, if you got 1,500 plus elevation feet, 1,500 plus feet of elevation, I think is how I wanted to phrase that. In any of these spots, I think then you can maybe work out some accumulating snowfall. Or I mean, when I mean accumulating, I mean like several inches. But otherwise, all right, I'll end it. I'll go over the dendrit growth zone, and then I'll end it so you guys can go get into his stream, because like I've been doing this for a little while, but like he's been doing this for more than a little while. So, but I think the best shot. Why did we get him? The best shot for the most snow here is right here. I think this is where we're looking at. This is where we're looking at for the most snow. Because watch here, watch our 500 setup here. We're looking at 500. It's right. This is where the most snow is going to set up, right? And this is where we're looking at for heavy snowfall for these this is where we're looking at for the most snow. So I think the Euro's a good in between right now between these two, and that's where that's where I'm saying in terms of snowfall thoughts. I think there's a shot for some places to see 6+ inches, and then in particular, I think the best will be here when the storm starts to slow down, and then also the heavy snow and starts to become kind of starts to sit over areas instead of move across. That's kind of where a lot of these areas where the band is moving across and looking for a spot to set up. And then I think Maine is the jackpot for this system. We'll go over briefly over the dendritic growth zone, some of the stuff I look at. We'll pull up the NAM, pull up the good old NAM again. Let's take out, we gotta go 3K, a little 3K action. I don't like looking at long range in NAM, but we'll see. So we're well saturated. This is good. This is good news here on this band, at least. Notice how, we're not looking to be, from top to bottom saturated, but we look for the dendritic growth zone. So we want to look for where we are from -20 to -10. So it looks like we starting out right around here, which, kind of adds up. We'll switch to blue. And then we go to -10. So it looks like from here to here is our dendritic growth zone. And look at that. -2 to -4 omega here in our dendritic growth zone. DGZ, I'll just shorten it up. That's we're well saturated in here, and we also have pretty good lift. We have pretty good lift as well. At least based on the NAM here. And we're cold all the way through. This is not a mix. But notice where I drew this. I drew this where the snow is happening. This is cold. Notice how we're coming close. See how we're pretty cold in the upper levels, and then once we get to 700, 750, 850, notice how we start to flirt. And then once we go back and we come back, that's sleet. And that's where we start to worry about mixing. And if it comes back all the way and then tries to come back, but it's too late until the surface, that's the problem. So we'll go one more sounding. I'm going to send you all the Billy stream. That's an order too, by the way. That's an order. We'll take a look at somewhere that's bordering the mix line here on the NAM, somewhere here in northern Massachusetts. Looks like not a lot of good lift. This is the beginning of the storm, so not a ton of good lift. Well saturated, which is a bonus. Well, not a bonus, but that's good. And flirting with that mix line. So I would say, given I would say this is really poor snow growth right here. I'd say snow is falling, especially if it's a little heavier. Heavier rates are going to be important. You got to remember too how much, if we can get that FGen band to set just a little bit earlier, I think some of these locations closer to the Mass Pike and I-84 can potentially get some more snow. Right here, there's currently snow, but if we play this a little bit forward, then we start to see this is mix, where we come back here, we go from cold to warm to cold again. This is probably a sleep profile right here. So I'm guessing a lot of these locations are going to go from that dew mix, are going to go from snow to sleet to rain. I think that's what's going to take place here. Because notice, we're just way too warm here from 7 down all the way down to the surface. I mean, at the very surface we're here, but from 900 all from 9 to 700, we're way too warm here. We can't go. This is not a snow profile. This calls for mix, if not rain, if we're a little bit warmer at the surface. That's all I got. Go hit up Billy. Go hit up Billy's stream. That's all I got for right now. We'll keep streaming. We'll keep streaming 1 to 2 times a day as minimum at night. All right. Let's go. I appreciate y'all. First stream of the year. Definitely could have been a little bit better given the timing, but that's okay. That's okay. These things are never designed to be perfect. Sweet and simple. This will allow people to watch it back. Yep. The last thing, leave it here. We want stream interaction between these two. We want to make these vertical. Make these vertical. We want to consolidate this. We want to consolidate this energy right here, so we can kind of overall we can prevent this from amplifying faster. So we can get this to slide further east and then amplify here. That's the goal. Not exactly. We can't get this to get that much, but that's the goal here. That's the goal with this system. All right, go hit up NSFWWX. That's his Twitter username. You can call him Billy. Go hit up a stream. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. We'll keep streaming throughout the week until this hits, and then maybe after we get another one. Peace out.